Jump up on your feet. Let's all be upstanding. Let's get that blood moving in our body. Well, it's absolutely my privilege this morning to introduce to you our communicator. He's the senior minister here at G Church. He's the CEO of G Centre. He's a visionary. He's a pioneer. Doing great stuff here and in great demand throughout Europe and across the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Andrew Schaper!
Pull up a chair, give the musos a big hand.
Woo! Yeah, musos!
G'day. Got to be Australian today, very important. We've been doing a series called How to Have a Successful Shipwreck, which is an unusual sort of title for a series, I understand, and some people are thinking, what the heck? Who wants to have a shipwreck? But the truth is, we have them. The truth is, we experience storms in life and they shipwreck us. And the key is, how do we actually have a successful one? How do we come out the other side of our shipwreck and do well? And when we experience storms, those storms are out of control. They're not in our control, they're outside of our control. There's something that's external to us that comes in and begins to affect our lives and affect the outcome of our lives. And you can't control it. You can't control anything. And I put generally things into two categories in my life: the things I can control and things I can't control. The things I can control, I try to control for good, and the things I can't control, I let go of. But when it comes to stormy seasons, I know what it is to have those things come from the outside. Sometimes they can leave us completely, they catch us off guard, they leave us completely vulnerable and exposed. And I know what that feeling's like. Coming into 2013, our family, we'd been on a journey as a community of believers and a community of faith, where we were trying to sell a property. Took 4 years of fight and struggle to make that thing happen. And finally it happened in December of 2012. And we were coming into 2013, into January, thinking this is the greatest season of our life. The opportunity, we were moving out towards this direction, and we knew what was coming. We didn't yet have signed leases on buildings or anything. It was all in the air, but the possibility power was amazing. And it was an electric time. And yet, by the time that month had ended, my wife, Sharon, found herself feeling really ill. And over just a couple of days, again, we ended up in emergency on New Year's Eve, which is an awesome time to go to emergency. And we're in emergency for New Year's Eve, and by around 2 days later, she had coded out 4 times, died 4 times on the table, and was being rushed into emergency surgery, which, so you're signing her life away. And they told us to say goodbye, and I'm like, I can't say goodbye, I'm going to say good luck, I'm believing for the best. And it happened so quickly, and then she came out of surgery and ended up in ICU, in an induced coma with septicemia. So she's on a deathbed, literally on a deathbed for nearly a month. Not the kind of start I was expecting to the year. Not the kind of thing I was expecting to be, this new season. So at the same time though, we were having a great season as a community of faith. We were moving towards where we needed to go. We were seeing great things happen and watching great things happen. It was quite amazing. But we were in the middle of a storm at home. And isn't it amazing how you can have two things that are parallel in your life? And on one side of your life, you're having the worst season of your life, and on the other side, you're having the greatest season of your life. And quite often this happens. And when storms come along and we find ourselves in a shipwreck situation, we're so exposed and so vulnerable that sometimes we can't work out what we're going to do. And so I want to look at one of these guys, Dr. Luke, who he looks at the what I call the OG community. Some people call them the disciples, or the people who started the organisation called the church, and I call them the OG because they were the original gangsters, mate. And I love those guys. And they were a really messed up group of individuals. They were a group of misfits, and they found themselves as the original gangsters. They raged against institutional religion, and they raged against conventional thought, and they went out and did things that people said weren't possible. I like those kind of people because they're the kind of people that we should be. And so Luke is a historian, he's a doctor, and when he writes history, you've got to understand that the place that he's coming from. Luke is looking at things with empirical evidence. So he's going around and he's finding the actual people that were there, and he interviews them, and he gets the real story. And as he records history, he writes this book called the Book of Acts, and the Book of Acts is where it goes from being thought and idea and concept into action. And so he starts recording all these things. And so you could go, when you read his writings, you could go to the places and the people, and you could go and interview them for yourself. You could go and talk to them. It's not like we write history retrospectively, how we write history, where we look back and we try and find some remnants of things. When he was writing history, history was happening. And so he's recording the places and the people and all those things. And as he writes this book called Acts, it's because it's moving beyond belief, and he moves into the arena of what the actual outcomes of the values and belief systems that these guys have. As an author, he highlights what the actions should be. And the book's written over a 34-year period. So it's not a 5-minute job. And he records 34 years of history. It's fascinating because he's getting the first followers and looking at how they put things together. Well, one of these first followers that he begins to record is this guy. He starts out, he's called Saul, and Saul's kind of a messed up dude. He's originally an executioner. He's a terrorist. He's going around killing people who are Christ followers. And later he becomes known as Paul, and he becomes known as a great apostle of faith. He's an adventurer and pioneer and philosopher and leader and author, and he's an amazing guy. He's a change maker, a thought leader. He's betrayed by his intellectual friends and rejected by institutional religion. And he works out how to effectively reach people. Well, Paul, one of these experiences that Luke records is Paul's shipwreck experience. And they're in this storm. There's over 200 of them on this ship. And there's so many of these guys, and there's so much stuff going on. They find themselves in this really, really like full-on storm. It comes from nowhere. And they're being driven along. They're no longer in the driving seat. They're being driven along by the wind and the waves and whatever's happening to them. They're actually subject to all the things that are external to them. They've got no control any longer. They lose their grip on life because the lifeboats start to go overboard. And so they're losing their grip on life. They're trying to hold it together, so much so they run rope under the ship. You know you're in trouble, right? When you're running rope under the ship to hold it together, right? Their world is literally falling apart. They start throwing things overboard. It's amazing how you find out in the middle of a storm all the things you really don't need.
Yeah.
All the things that you find that you just say, I don't really need that. That's not really part of my world. It's not important. You soon learn what's important. Then hopelessness sets in. It says that they're not seeing sun nor stars, and the storm continued raging, and they literally gave up all hope of being saved. So they're disoriented. Their navigation system is down. They've got no GPS. Okay? They hadn't seen sun nor stars for many days. So their GPS system's gone. They don't know where they're going or how they're going to get there. They're discouraged because the storm just continued to rage, and no matter what they did, this storm just kept coming at them and at them and at them and at them, and it felt like it was never going to end. And finally they get defeated, they give up all hope. And when you're in that place of hopelessness, it feels dark. It feels like there's no way out. It feels like there's no way to move forward. They've literally hit the wall. Well, I like this kind of scenario because Paul then, after hitting the wall, he does what I call the plane crash speech, right? It's like when you're on a plane, and I've been on lots of planes because I fly all over the world and trying to sort of build and impact organisations like ours, and both from corporate to not-for-profit to faith-based groups. And so I spend a lot of time on aeroplanes, and especially from Australia, because we're the most remote country in the world, so therefore it's a long way to anywhere. And from Perth, we are the most remote capital city in the world. It takes 40 hours driving a vehicle to get to the next capital city. That's a long way. When you tell people that, they freak out. And so nowhere's a long way for us. Like when we talk about driving from London to Scotland, like that's nothing. I don't know, it's 6 or 7 hours, who cares? And, you know, if you're driving on the M4, well, I won't say that, I'm being recorded. Anyway, so these guys have done everything humanly possible, and Paul stands up, he gives a plane crashing speech. That's when you're heading towards the ground and you know you're not going to miss. Right? When you know you're not going to miss, you're in trouble. And so here he has this plane crashing speech. He stands up and he says to them, I urge you to keep up your courage. Plane's going down. You know? And he stands up. I urge you to keep up your courage, because not one of you will be lost, only the ship will be destroyed. I love that. Only the ship will be destroyed. So you're on a plane, you're heading towards the ground, you know you're not going to miss, and he says, we're going to crash, but everyone's going to be okay. That's the speech. There's a few awkward moments. Awkward moment number one, he says, don't worry, God spoke to me. Who knows, when you're on a plane and you're heading towards the ground and you know you're not going to miss, you don't really want to hear from somebody who God spoke to, because you think, what is wrong with this person? We're going to crash. Get back in your seat. Sit down. Watch out for things flying around. I've been on a plane that dropped. We literally free fell. We're on a A380 actually. The new planes. We free fell for nearly 30 seconds. That's a long time. And I learned then to put your seatbelt on even when you're sleeping. Because I watched meals go flying, I watched people's stuff go flying everywhere, and fortunately I was just in my chair, and I was actually it was a bit of a white knuckle moment, but my philosophy is you pay for the flight, but the ride's for free. And so I figured, let's just enjoy the moment, Woo! As it came back up, it was like fantastic. It was like being on a roller coaster. Brilliant, but the white knuckle thing on the way down, not so cool. So awkward moment number one, he stands up and says, don't worry, God spoke to me. So there's a problem. Awkward moment number two, you're lucky you're on this ship with me. He's saying, because I'm on the ship and God spoke to me and told me what's going to happen, you're lucky, you're all going to be okay because I'm on the ship. Sounds really arrogant, doesn't it? But it wasn't. It's because he was just confident in what he'd heard. And then awkward moment number three, he has a little disclaimer. Paul says, nevertheless, we must run aground on some island. Now, I reckon that was said really, really quickly. The plane's going down, we know we're not going to miss, nevertheless, we're going to explode. We're going to have problems. So the possibility of death's there, and then Paul tells them, hey, listen, man, let's get practical. We haven't eaten for 2 weeks. 2 weeks they're in this situation. 2 weeks they've been slammed. And he says, look, you haven't eaten anything. And so he encourages them again that they're all going to be okay. And he says, let's eat some food. Let's do something practical. Isn't it amazing how we like to spiritualize everything all the time, but we just need to do the practical things most of the time. So he tells them, just eat some food. So they eat some food. It says there's 276 of them on board, and they all ate and they felt better. Because they had some food. Good idea. So they've been smashed. It's the 14th night. They've been driven across the sea. They've got no control. They're approaching land. So they drop anchor and pray. Even the atheists prayed. Because atheists pray in situations like that. They soon find out that their belief system's a little bit hollow, and if there is a God, they at least pray an agnostic prayer. If there is a God, help! Right? Because that's the situation they're in. So they're completely lost. It says when daylight comes, they pray for daylight. Daylight comes. Things don't get any better. Daylight came. It's no better. They see land, but they don't recognise it. So they're completely lost. They don't know where they're going, what they're going to do. You know, because sometimes when you trust in God, it means running headfirst into the disaster, into a complete disaster zone. And you know, it says they struck a sandbar. The ship literally implodes and explodes, falls to pieces, and then a really interesting scenario takes place because it's full of prisoners. Paul was a prisoner on the ship, and they were on their way to a Roman court, and yet this shipwreck happens on the way. And so this situation happens. The soldiers decide, let's kill all the prisoners because and they had good reason. Now the reason for killing the prisoners was that it was law. If you were a soldier and a prisoner escaped on your watch, you paid their penalty.
Oh, wow.
Right? So and some of them it meant they were going to get put to death.
Wow.
And so this was a real situation. But the centurion who was in charge said, no, none of you touch these guys, because Paul's on this boat, and Paul's the only reason we're all still living right now. So no one touch anyone, because you can't touch Paul. And Paul said we can't touch anybody else. It was like the MC Hammer of like, you know, the original gangsters. You know, you can't touch us. You know, you just can't touch him, nothing. Right? So what happens is they jump on planks. And this is the first recorded surfing that we know of. And they surf their way to shore. I don't know if it's where plank surfing came from, but it could have. You never know. And it says they survived the shipwreck. Now, it's good to survive. But how do we go from survive to thrive? Last time we looked at how we survive, how we get to shore when we're in a shipwreck. But how do we go from survive to thrive? Well, I'm glad you asked, so let me tell you. The next chapter begins. Luke, who's writing this, good place to start a new chapter. It says, once safely on shore. Good place to start a new chapter of your life. I'm safe, right? So it says the islanders showed us unusual kindness. So it's really weird. And I'm going to quickly give you 6 keys, right, before we close out. 6 keys to moving from survive to thrive, right? And I'm going to unfold the story as we do it.
It's good.
We okay?
Yeah.
Right. Number 1, keep a servant heart. It says the islanders built a fire and welcomed us all. So it's very inclusive, right? And what does Paul do? Paul's first thing that he does, habitually he begins to serve. Because it's part of the fabric of his being. So he starts to serve. It says he gathers a pile of brushwood and puts it in the fire. I mean, I think if we're going to go from survive to thrive, we've just got to keep that servant heart.
It's good,
we've
mate.
just got to keep serving people.
It's good.
And you'd be surprised what happens. Number 2, let the spirit of Taylor Swift come upon you. Shake off adversity, right? Listen to what happens. Paul puts the wood on the fire, and as he's putting the wood on the fire, a snake jumps out, a viper, and grips onto his hand. Who knows this is a problem? Minor detail. It says it was driven out by the heat, and it fastened itself to his hand. But Paul, being the Taylor Swift fan that he was, he just shook the snake off. He just shook it off and kept going. Whoa. So instead of doing the death dance, he just, shake it off, shake it off. He just did the shake it off thing. And he kept going and he kept doing what he was doing. Amazing scenario. So the second thing is just shake off adversity. Sometimes I think we get so immersed in the adversity, and some people, that if a snake grips onto you, we all start freaking out. But maybe we should just shake it off. Maybe that should be the first thing that we do, instead of doing the death dance. Third thing, don't be dictated to by popular opinion. Now listen to what happens. All the islanders saw this take place, right? And they say, this is what they say, they said to each other, "This man must be a murderer, for though he escaped from the sea, justice has not allowed him to live." Now, think of this from Paul's perspective. He was a murderer. So he must have been, it would have been easy to just give in to popular opinion and start thinking, oh no, I am a murderer. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. We're all going to die. I shouldn't have told him no one was going to die because I'm going to die. But he's just, after he's shaken it off, and they're expecting him to die, an hour goes past and nothing happens. And it says the people expected him to swell up or suddenly fall dead. But after waiting a long time and seeing nothing unusual happen to him, they changed their minds and said he was a god. Isn't popular opinion so fickle? Aren't the opinions of people so fickle?
That's right.
1 minute they wish destruction on us, and the next minute they want to worship us.
That's it.
All in the space of an hour. He's gone from someone who's a murderer who deserves to die to a god. I would have used the god thing to my advantage, but not Paul. So what happens? Number fourth thing, if you want to move from survive to thrive, enjoy the journey. Don't just endure it. Paul seized the moment and he enjoyed the favour, right? It says there was an estate nearby that belonged to a chief official of the island. He welcomed us in his home for 3 days and he entertained us hospitably. So he looked after them and he gave them, whatever they needed. And Paul learned on his journey to enjoy the things that came to him and to endure what he needed to endure. But if we're going to go from survive to thrive, we've got to learn to also enjoy the journey.
That's it, mate.
Right, no matter what's happening, it was a shipwreck situation. Nothing was looking good, but he just enjoyed the journey. If this is what's been given to us, let's, we've basically gone from the shore of a shipwreck and we've emerged, and now we're thrust into this coincidental circumstance, or seemingly coincidental. As I say to some people say to me, hey, listen, man, that's just a coincidence. I say, hey, look, all I know is this, you can call it whatever you like. All I know is when I pray, I see lots of coincidences. And, some people are just caught up on the semantics of words. Well, I don't know. I don't really care. All I know is this, when I pray, there's lots of coincidences. So you can call it whatever you like. And they learn to enjoy it. Number 5, continue to leverage your life to help others. Continue to leverage our lives collectively and individually to help others. Listen, here's a really cool thing. Paul continued to do what he'd always done, and that was he saw opportunity to help, and so he did. He found out the father was in bed, he was in his sick bed. He found out that all he could do was go and pray for him, so he did. So he went and prayed for him, and the situation changed. Coincidence? I don't know. Call it whatever you like, but prayer works. So then it says all the people from the island came, and they wanted prayer too, so he prayed for them, and they all got cured as well. So whatever was going on, Paul just continued to leverage his life to help other people. He could have got fat and happy. He could have been comfortable, right? He could have got into the comfort zone and just said, I'm going to stay here. Which brings us to the sixth point and the final point. Because Paul refused to allow the comfort he experienced, to stop him from helping others. The sixth point, the final point, and the musicians can come. Learn when to let go. Learn when it's time to move on. It says they honoured them in many ways, and the story could have easily ended here. The story could have stopped right there. You know, he could have gone, this is a great coincidental chance that's happened here, and we can just stop right here. Or we can go, let's not be comfortable. Let's remember that we were on a journey and we've got to continue on our journey. And so that's what they did. They got on their journey, and it says when they were ready to sail, they furnished us with all the supplies we needed. Listen, he remembered that there was still a journey to take. There was a purpose. He was on his way to go and stand trial in the Roman court so he could stand before Caesar and before kings and before all sorts of influential people. And it gave him opportunities that he wouldn't normally have. But even though this shipwreck threw him off course, he wasn't allowing the comfort of the situation to stop him from moving forward. It's so easy to become comfortable. It's so easy to just sit in our comfort zones and not move and not understand we're created for a bigger purpose than this.
Come on.
And Paul understood that, and because he understood that, he moved on, and he headed towards trial and imprisonment, but he didn't care about that because he wasn't afraid. He knew he had to stand before Caesar, and that was the influence that he was going to exert, because he was a Roman citizen. And the name Paul didn't come later. The name Paul came, he'd grown up with it. He used both of those names when he was in the Roman environment, which he grew up in as well. He used the name Paul all his life. It wasn't just some name that came later. So we're not called to be comfortable, we're called to live for a larger purpose. And if we do that, then we can go from survive to thrive.
Yeah.
True?
Yeah.
So my prayer for you guys is, let's not get caught in the comfort zone. Let's understand there's an overarching purpose to our lives. And it's my prayer that God will help us to keep the servant heart, to shake off adversity, no matter what we're going through, to overcome popular opinion, not to be moved by the opinions of others, but let what God talks to us about be the thing that moves us forward, that propagates forward movement. Let us enjoy the journey, not just endure it.
It's good, mate.
Leverage our life to help others, no matter what environment we're in, whether it's a good season or a hard season. Let's leverage our lives for the sake of others. It's why we do a lot of the things that we do around here. It comes from that core value of just believing every person deserves dignity. Every person's created with dignity and beauty. And so therefore we're going to find that dignity and beauty in every person. No matter what situation they find themselves in, we're going to be the ones that don't judge them. We're going to be the ones that just love them. And it's really important we do that. And learn to let go, to move forward into the purposes that we have. Thanks, guys.